We are joined in the studio now by the leader of West Northamptonshire Council, Jonathan Nunn. Once again, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm well. Really well, Chris. Good to see you again.
Yeah,
Morning,
good to see you. So welcome to our new studio. So we're here at Vulcan Works now. We've moved around the corner and we've obviously got the council to thank for your investment and kind of getting the Vulcan Works project off the ground, and it's been a real success, hasn't it?
Well, it has, and thank you for saying that. I mean, a joint effort, lots and lots of people involved, some funding from people like Cllr and so on. But no, it's great. Now, what I love about it is you've got the old and the new in the architecture. So, we're in a modern part here. Your studio, brand new built, but you step through the door and then you're in a really old ironworks that's been beautifully renovated, and so it's just got a nice buzz. And then you look at the kind of businesses that are moving in, young, growing businesses. Many of them dynamic, many of them in the creative sectors, IT, that kind of thing. I just think it's a wonderful place. I'm sure some tremendous businesses are going to flourish as a result here, right in the town centre, bringing a bit more into the economy as well. And one of the great things as well, it's something I was involved in early initiations on. We've now got Barclays Eagles here, who are doing some great stuff to support businesses. So it really is a great place to be. And a little plug on their behalf: if you've got a business, maybe a small business, you can come in and just spend a day or two here, have a look around, enjoy the atmosphere, decide whether you're ready to make that move into an office. Fantastic place, isn't it?
It really is. So thanks very much for coming in again today, and obviously we're getting close to Christmas now, a couple of weeks left. It's all looking very festive in the town centre.
We had looking lovely.
Big Christmas celebration actually on Guildhall Road over the weekend with the Business Improvement District getting behind that, and just great to see everybody really feeling positive about Christmas coming, the improvements that are going on in the town centre. How's everything coming along with that? Is it all going on course?
Yeah, on the improvement side, it's looking good. I mean, like you, I join you in saying how great the town looks. That's gone to Northampton Town Council now. In our four main towns, it's the town councils that do that, and I think the town council have really excelled themselves here in Northampton, and indeed across the other towns as well. And the town's getting along well. We always talk about the market. That's making good progress. Some people may have seen that there was a little bit more stuff found underground. It was old cellars that actually have been completely concreted up, so we think that might have happened back in the 70s. And the, if you like, the risk and the delay is potentially what's underground. So they're almost done underground, but where as soon as you dig, I think it's more than about 30 centimetres, something like that, you have to have an archaeologist standing by, and if you find something, you've got to investigate it, so there's always an element of time delay there. That stuff will be finished fairly soon, and once you get onto the surface work, you've got a work programme that you can control far better. We're still looking at late summer, I think, is the latest, late summer next year. But yeah, really looking forward to it being open. For those people who are popping into town, do go and have a look at the top end of the Market Square up there near Boots, because that bit was kind of blocked off for a while. It's the first bit that is now open. If you can say open, the surfacing is down, and it gives you a feel for what the whole thing is going to look like, and it looks absolutely smashing.
And what I like about that bit is that it's still got the heritage. It's still reminds you of how the Market Square was before the work, so you can see the old cobblestones that have been cleaned and put back. That's it's not completely new, how a lot of people imagined it's all going to be completely changed.
You wouldn't want it to look brand new and shiny. I mean, it does look brand new and shiny, but it's got authentic historic type materials, hasn't it? And the cobbles, as you say, you've got a combination of the modern materials that have got a sort of heritage look, perfectly smooth finish, very easy to walk across, push chairs, wheelchairs, etc. But then you've got the cobbles, which were generally a bit harder to walk on, but nevertheless they're there for a more decorative purpose. They look really nice, don't they? And it's tipping the hat to the vitally important history of the market, I think. Yeah, so can't wait to see it.
Very useful for getting babies to sleep as well. I used to go round the cobbles with the pram repeatedly until the baby went to sleep, and it works a treat. So,
that's worth bearing in mind. Yeah, possibly not for me, but I'm sure listeners will find that helpful.
It's Revolution Radio, 11:30. We're here live with Jonathan from West Northamptonshire Council, answering your questions and talking about things that are happening at the moment with the council, things that are in the news, and a big news story has just come out today with the council's draft budget proposals for 2024-25 have just been revealed, and this is still a proposal. This isn't necessarily set in stone, but these are the ideas of how the council is planning to spend your council tax money in the next financial year. And also it includes what the council tax is possibly going to be next year, and the proposal is to raise the council tax by 4.99%, which will bring in £14.9 million, including 2% of the increase going towards adult social care as specified by the government. So if you've got a Band D property, that could work out as an extra £1.63 a week. So, I mean, first of all, obviously, very important to kind of balance the books and make sure that there's enough money coming in for what you want to spend. But you've gone a little bit further, and you're actually spending extra money on some quite exciting things to improve grant-funded schools and efficiencies through improvement in productivity and additional income generation. So I guess there's two sides to it.
Yeah, there is, and it's such a difficult thing, isn't it? Particularly, at the moment, times are tough for everybody, and that includes local councils, and people will see in the news those councils that are getting into serious trouble. There's quite a few of them about, and let's just reassure that West Northants, and indeed North Northants, for your viewers, your listeners, I know, are all over the county, that neither of those two councils are in that category, not by a long chalk. We've both set balanced budgets and delivered on them against a budget of this year nearly 400 million. We're currently forecast to overspend by the end of March 2 million, so that's a tiny percentage. And experience tells us, we're working on that every day, experience tells us that we should be able to get that down to balancing. So we're okay. That's
good, because a lot of the other councils are blaming inflation and saying that the costs are different from what they budgeted for, and it's not their fault that there's not enough money coming in to pay the bills. But you've not had that issue.
We just had to manage. We've made efficiencies. During the last year, we've made about £30 million worth of efficiencies. That's not by cutting services. That's just by trying to do things more efficiently. The move to unitary, instead of having several different councils, 4 councils or 3.5 councils in our case, that helps. That has helped. But we're big on a word that we're using, local government transformation. What that says is doing things better and more efficiently. Sometimes that involves investing a little bit of money to be able to do something more efficiently. So that might be putting in a bit of IT, which then means things can be done quicker and better. We're constantly looking for these types of projects. And I say it was 30 million last year. This year we're aiming to create further savings of 25 million coming out of the operation through various different efficiencies and so on. So I say that just to assure people that given that we are asking you for the full council tax increase, which is 4.99%, you can argue, is that inflationary, is it below or whatever? And we know inflation is gradually sort of coming down, but nevertheless it's the maximum we can do. Of that 4.99%, 2%, as you say, the government earmark for adult social care, and that's really, really important because that's a really stretched area. Over the next 5 yees in West Northants, we're going to see a 28% increase in the number of people aged 75 and over. So that's a 28% increase in the number of people 75 and over, and that's in just the next 5 years. So adult social care, we're living longer, great news. Clearly, the council, on behalf of the taxpayer, has the responsibility to help those that then in later years need help. Yeah. So because
I think that's the thing, that people are living longer, but they're not necessarily living longer healthily. So it's that difference between having a long lifespan and also staying active and staying healthy.
And that's really important. And we at the council have responsibility for public health. The government give us specific money, which is earmarked just for public health. All sorts of getting active, dealing with mental health issues, whatever it might be. It's about £20 million we'll be spending on these kind of campaigns and initiatives and so on to try and ensure that we do keep people healthy. And I think there is generally a wish to want to do more and more stuff that is preventative. We know if somebody gets to a point where they're having to be treated for something, whether it's a health thing or indeed whether it's a child in care, sometimes some early preventative work might have avoided that. So that's a bigger focus. We're trying to get to people earlier, preventing the health problems or preventing perhaps a child who's in difficulty, trauma or behavioural difficulties. If we can tackle that earlier, it saves the cost later. Because the two big demands overall on our budget. Okay, the cost of everything is going up, fuel, electricity, etc. But the two biggest areas are children in care who need support and adults in care. And there are two aspects to that. One is the number of them coming forward to need assistance. And actually the second, certainly with children, is the complexity of those needs. And that can be both something that compassionate people want us to look after children at that time of need, where their own families are not able to, or whatever it might be, or they're without a family. But sometimes the cost and the primary objective is looking after the child, but the cost actually can be quite eye-watering of thousands of pounds a week to look after a child. If we can get to them earlier, not only do we save the taxpayer that cost, but actually what a better quality of life we can get for the child, creating someone who's going to grow up to make a positive impact on, on the world, on the community, on the economy, etc., etc. So trying to get there early is important. What this budget does, it demonstrates that we haven't left a single stone unturned. If we can save tuppence here and tuppence there, we've done it. But at the same time, we've got these big things like the public health, like looking after children in care and so on. So we hope it's the right kind of balance. It ain't been easy. We've been on it for months. It doesn't start till April. We've got to get it signed off by February, so it's going to go out for consultation for people to have their view. But we started it in August or September. It just is a difficult process. But yeah, we hope this is a great way of putting, keeping West Northants on the road, really looking after people, doing the best we can, providing the best value for money. We're making savings. We are asking householders to pay 4.9%, 99% extra. We're sorry about that, but we can promise you the money's going to be very carefully managed.
And how can we have our say if people have got opinions about this and they want to kind of put some ideas forward or have their thoughts heard? How can they do that?
Well, we've got a cabinet meeting next Tuesday, and I think immediately after that it goes out for consultation. So watch the news. We'll be putting social media and news articles out, through the likes of yourselves and other media outlets, and the details will be there for them to consult. It has to go to the cabinet first. They say yes, go out to consult. It goes to our full council to finally sign off in February. So yeah, people just get on the website and you can see all our news and you can join the consultation.
Thank you for all of your questions and comments that have come in. I forgot to mention Lawrence's comment, so I'll read that now quickly. He's been on the Instagram and he said, Jonathan, what's being done to make the people of Northampton and the Shire realise we as Conservatives are still in touch with them, and what's being worked on to stop a Labour win next year in the local council elections? So I know we don't normally talk about politics too much on this, but that is a genuine question from listeners. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, thank you, Lawrence, for your question. Lawrence does sound like he's a Conservative like I am.
He certainly does sound like that, doesn't he?
That's good. That said, I always think you kind of give me a bit of airtime, and it's not. It's because we avoid politics a little bit. So let me try and talk more generally around that. I think sometimes the man and woman in the street, they naturally on the news, they're seeing the national politics and that kind of thing, or they hear particular highlights of what might go on locally. And what they don't hear is the everyday. What they don't hear is the army of councillors. And I'll credit people on all sides. You've got some very dedicated councillors from all sort of parties and so on, who work incredibly hard, put enormous hours in. Sometimes they get a lot of flack for what they do. And if I think about our bunch, so I work with a cabinet of 10 people who are, if you like, on the one hand, ordinary folk, but also extraordinary folk, really experienced. Many of them are sort of people who are running businesses and they're balancing both, or they're in a couple in full-time jobs. I just think they are ordinary people, but they're incredibly compassionate people. And I think it's the stereotypes that catch people out here. If I'm honest, I look at what we've achieved at our council, and we've done so many wonderful things. People say, "Oh, are you a Conservative council?" It's these strange stereotypes that they seem to apply to us. So our anti-poverty strategy, which actually was, equally driven by our Labour Party, we've worked together with them to do that. If you look at the cost of living support that we're doing and so many other things, I think the thing is, forget your stereotypes, find out really who your local candidates are. And I know at the Conservatives, we've got some excellent local councillors, and we've got great plans for West Northants as well. We're delivering on them, and I love coming to talk to you about the latest things. We've got a couple more exciting things to talk about, hopefully this morning. Watch what we're doing. Don't get too hooked up on the national, because what you've got at a local level is you've got a bunch of people who've got a broad set of ethics and principles that they work around. Freedom, independence, nation, that kind of thing. These are things that bind us together as Conservatives. They're a group of principles, no more than that, and you, with those principles, you tackle the issues of the day that come along. I hope people judge us on our record at the next election. We've got a fantastic record. The things that we've accomplished, the budgets that we've balanced, the problems that we've solved, the way we've driven West Northants forward. I hope that stands us in good stead. But I would also give a shout out for all local councillors. Being a local councillor is a great thing to do. It's a great way to shape your community. It's not all about the things that seem to get the news. It's about hard work. It's about diligently working away. Trying to balance it with your family and your work life is always really hard for everybody, but it's an absolutely great thing to do. Lawrence, if you want to get in touch, we'll have a further chat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that is a tricky thing because a lot of it is beyond party politics. It's more about just solving problems locally, and you are a lot of the time at the mercy of public opinion with what's happening with nationally. Sure. Okay, another thing that we want to talk about quickly and touch on this, I know we're running out of time, but the big thing in the news today, again, there's lots happening locally with the council this week. The engagement has just been launched to find out opinions about what's going to happen with the vacant Greyfriars site. So that's the former bus station, the East and West Island, Marehold multi-storey car park, Belgrave House, the Corn Exchange and Victoria Street car park. It's a big area right in the middle of the town centre, and you're looking for the general public to say their thoughts, give you their thoughts on what could be done with that space and how to make it a little bit more inviting or utilise it a bit better, and just kind of come up with some clever ideas of what we can do to make the environment a bit nicer in the town centre.
Oh, it's exactly that. Thank you, Chris. And that is exciting. This is launched today, that consultation. People can have their views. It's a massive piece of land, as you say, the site of the former bus station. And it's sort of at the heart of our town. It's slightly separated by the way that the buildings run. The old streets ran north and south. Now we've got buildings that cut across. So we've got a number of things to do. We've got to open it up so you can more easily access it, of course. We've no real fixed ideas. I think there are a bunch of principles and themes. So first of all, a principle is we want to do something that looks really good. We don't just want to do a load of buildings that just look pretty ordinary and mediocre and so on. We want to include a lot of greenery as well. People told us when we did the Market Square and the work we're about to do on Abingdon Street, they said we want more trees. So trees and greenery. Although technically the sort of town of Northampton's got a huge proportion of open space. A lot of it's around the edges. You've got Abingdon Park nearer the centre, but right in the very centre of the town, it's quite a limited amount of greenery. We want to put some greenery in there. We think that might be an important thing, but let's be guided by what people say. In order to open that space up, one of the early ideas that came forward in the master plan some years ago was to create a linear park, which really means parkland, replacing that two-lane road that goes around the back of the Grosvenor Centre, the Grosvenor car park and so on. There's concerns there from me about getting the traffic right. We can't snarl the whole area up, but it would be lovely to be able to push further on that if we can find a way of re-engineering the roads so that you could have a nice green connection between the town centre, or the Market Square, you walk through and you're into a nice area with some greenery, but also a nice bit of architecture. We do think all these schemes have to some extent pay their way. You can't just throw public money at something that then doesn't create usefulness, and a part of that might well be houses. The nice thing about houses is we first of all desperately need houses, both social and private houses, so that's an element of that, serving if you like our residents and our population. The other thing about that is because of the nature of them, they are saleable, if you like, or rentable to perhaps council tenants. So that's why housing works, in that it solves a problem, but it also adds something. But we've got to think about a way of doing something that doesn't just look ordinary, mediocre and tired very quickly. We want to make a bit of a splash, and I think that's where people's views come in. Jump on our website at westnorthants.gov.uk and you'll see right on the front page there an opportunity to get your thoughts, as indeed you'll see more details on many of the things that you and I are discussing today, but you'll see a news article there about Cllr, and it'll allow you to do a consultation. We'd love to hear your ideas on it.
So what would the next stage be? So you get the best ideas and you put them forward for further consultation?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure there'll be a diverse range of ideas, really, but always with these things you can pick out themes of what people are looking for. And sometimes you get few responses, however hard you promote it. And you kind of wonder, is that because people aren't interested? I don't think it'll be the case here. If we don't get many, it'll be because people, haven't really got a clear thought, and they'll be saying to us, well, you come up with a few ideas, in which case we will go to a further consultation. So this one is very blank sheet almost. We're asking people, what do you think? We'll put then those ideas into something, and it'll go forward to the next stage, where it'll say, right, based on what you've told us, this is how we think we might make it work.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? And that's possibly when we'll get a bit more interest. Sometimes, people need to see something to say, I do like it, I don't like it. Can you make it bigger? Can you make it smaller? Can you do something? So we'll see what happens, but we'd welcome as many views as possible at this stage.
So even if it's something as simple as just saying, I'd like more green spaces in the town centre, or I want certain traffic issues on this road to be sorted out, or blah, blah, blah. All of those kind of ideas are valid.
Just tell us anything you want to tell us that relates to that site. Yeah, absolutely.
So we are still here with Jonathan from West Northamptonshire Council, and one of the things that's happened over the last couple of days has been World AIDS Day, and I know that the council held an event to mark that outside the Guildhall with red ribbons and a minute's silence, which is great. But actually, there's something a lot more significant that's been happening as a development in the fight against HIV and AIDS. Do you want to explain what's
very
what's
happy to,
there?
Chris. Very happy to. Thank you. And I picked up on the news actually after we did our 12 o'clock sort of regular visual each year that we do for World AIDS Day. And we later learned some success on some campaigning we've been doing. So I got contacted by the Terence Higgins Trust probably 18 months or so ago. And I suppose I caught up a lot more on the latest, the science and the position regarding this. For someone who's old enough to have grown up, was it the 80s when we first saw some dreadful adverts of tombstones? And
scary ads.
We saw no alternative to this than being, if you like, a death sentence. And since then, so many families have lost so many people. We've lost some of the great world icons, particularly in the entertainment industry, haven't we? What I hadn't realised is how much science had moved on, and I was aware that people were living an ordinary life whilst they had contracted the virus, and it was contained by drugs. But I've learnt more about a drug called PrEP, which means that if you are, if your lifestyle puts you at risk, you can take that to better defend yourself and reduce the risk of transmission onwards and so on. But I learnt that in London they were doing a thing called opt-out testing, and that basically says that if you went for a blood test at a hospital, as well as screening for the things they might normally screen for, they would also screen for HIV. There's a cost attached because of the lab work, and this test had just started. It was going quite well, and it was pointed out to me that in West Northants we were an area of high prevalence, and I don't like the idea of there being something that there is potentially something we can do about, and we're not. So if you're aware that you've contracted, or you go for your own tests, you can be treated. Drugs can contain it really, really well, but the biggest enemy is those who are not aware that they have contracted the HIV virus or whatever. So what this opt-out testing means, it means if you go to a hospital, you have a blood test, unless you specifically say I want to opt out of the testing, they test for HIV along with testing with so many other things
just
as
routinely,
well, with things that we're just accustomed to them testing for. And here's the big prize, and this is the bit that really makes me feel quite emotional about it. For something that we thought was so absolutely dreadful and a death sentence, we now have an aim to eradicate new transmissions by 2030. Can you imagine that? By 2030, there would be no new transmissions, because we would pick up on the fact that everybody who has it. So instead of having contracted it and for some long period living with it, increasingly feeling poorly, and then discovering it, possibly having transmitted it in the meantime, we can tell you far more quickly. And we've been successful. I've lobbied along with mainly other MPs and so on. We've been successful. Our two hospitals in our county, that's Cllr and Northampton, will be rolling this out from April. So we're really quite excited about that.
That's amazing. And it's great for us to be at the forefront of something like that, because I'd imagine it's something that everyone's going to be doing eventually, but why wait? Let's just get on with it.
And I think it was that lobbying and pushing, and we were really keen to do it. So these things do work eventually if you keep pushing hard enough. And of course the NHS, it's such a joint thing. The NHS are really excited about this too. They have been similarly asking. Yeah,
amazing. Okay, well, thank you very much for coming in today, and
a
have a fantastic Christmas. And I'm sure you'd like to wish happy Christmas to everyone.
Well, I certainly would. Hasn't the year flown by? And here we are. We're talking in early December. So thank you, Chris, for allowing us to come in and talk through on different things, and wishing you and all of your listeners a really happy Christmas. And here's to a great 2024 as well.
Fantastic. Thanks very much. Okay, the weather today.